Archaeologists open the tomb of the Virgin Mary, but what they find inside shocks the world. Many of us have probably heard the belief that the Virgin Mary was taken up to heaven without undergoing death, a unique event granted only to her. However, have you ever wondered if this belief has actually caused controversies within different Christian communities? And could the contrasting views on this matter offer us a deeper insight into our faith? Let's explore the story of the Virgin Mary and her sacred tomb, a place that not only Catholic believers but also religious history scholars have paid special attention to. One of the notable aspects is the story of the tomb of the Virgin Mary, located at the foot of the Mount of Olives in the Kidron Valley in Jerusalem. This is believed to be the resting place of the Virgin Mary after her passing. However, this raises a question. If the Virgin Mary was taken up to heaven without dying, why is there a tomb of hers? This has sparked many debates within the Christian community over the centuries. The answer can be found in ancient religious texts, including the Bible and other ancient books, such as the Jewish Toledat Yeshu. According to tradition, the Virgin Mary passed away naturally and peacefully after a sleep. This story has been passed down in the Eastern Orthodox Church, where they celebrate the feast of the Dormition of the Virgin Mary, although the exact age of the Virgin Mary at her death is unclear. According to ancient records, it is believed that on the third day after her death, her body and soul were taken up to heaven. Interestingly, after the funeral, the tomb of the Virgin Mary at Gethsemane, at the foot of the Mount of Olives, was found empty, further adding to the mystery and sanctity of the place. The Catholic Encyclopedia also records the oldest documents related to the life of the Virgin Mary. One of the key documents is the Book of St. John, recorded by Lencius in the 2nd century, which mentions that St. John and his disciple Prochorus went to Ephesus after the Virgin Mary's death. There are also many other documents from the 3rd and 4th centuries, such as Joannes Liber de Dormitione Mariae or De Transitu Bm Virginis, which confirm the Virgin Mary's tomb at Gethsemane. One of the important 5th century documents is a record by the monk Cyril of Scythopolis, who wrote about the Byzantine Emperor Marcian and Empress Pulcheria asking for relics of the Virgin Mary, but they were told there were none because the Virgin Mary had been taken up to heaven. What is particularly interesting is that from the early years of Christianity, the tomb of the Virgin Mary has always been considered one of the most sacred sites. In 1972, the archaeologist and Franciscan priest Bellarmino Bagatti conducted a study in the area. He concluded that this could be a cemetery dating back to the 1st century and very likely the resting place of some significant biblical figures. During the survey, the team of experts discovered 3 burial areas and confirmed that this was the location mentioned in ancient documents. In the 5th century, a small church was built near the Virgin Mary's tomb. However, in 614, this church was destroyed during the Persian invasion. Later, the area continued to be considered sacred, and even during the period of Islamic rule over Jerusalem, they believed this was the burial place of the Virgin Mary. In 1130, when the Crusaders captured Jerusalem, they rebuilt a church on the site and entrusted its management to Benedictine monks. This church, built in the Gothic style, remained until it was destroyed by the Muslim king Saladin in 1187. However, the crypt remained intact. Another church was built in the latter half of the 14th century and became a Franciscan monastery. Despite many upheavals, the Virgin Mary's tomb has maintained its sanctity, attracting thousands of pilgrims and visitors. Today, this site is not only one of the most important pilgrimage destinations, but also an integral part of Christian history. In addition to the Virgin Mary's tomb, the site is also the resting place of many important figures, such as the Virgin Mary's parents, Saint Joachim and Saint Anne, as well as the tomb of Queen Melisenda, who ruled Jerusalem in the 12th century. Therefore, it is no surprise that the Virgin Mary's tomb continues to draw great attention from pilgrims and tourists visiting Jerusalem, becoming a symbol of faith, sanctity, and religious history over the centuries. With all these stories and historical events, the Virgin Mary's tomb is not only a spiritual site, but also a vibrant symbol of the connection between the past and the present, between history and faith. But this is not all the archaeological mysteries have to offer us. In addition to the story of the Virgin Mary, archaeologists have also brought us many other fascinating and mysterious discoveries. So what are they? Let's continue exploring right now. The mysterious girl found among seashells in a 5,900-year-old tomb. Over 5,900 years ago, a mysterious girl with the powerful arms of an athlete was laid to rest in an ancient tomb along the Caribbean coast, becoming one of the most significant archaeological discoveries in the lower Central America region. This tomb, identified as the oldest in the area, has attracted the attention of scientists and researchers. Recently, a study published in the journal Antiquity revealed unique details about the burial customs of Central American peoples thousands of years ago through this tomb. Professor Mirjana Roxandic, an anthropologist at the University of Winnipeg, Canada, and the lead researcher, stated that what is particularly remarkable about this tomb is the extraordinary preservation of the skeleton. Although the tropical climate of Central America typically leads to the rapid decomposition of artifacts and remains, the woman's bones in the tomb were remarkably well preserved, likely due to an elaborate burial method, possibly carried out by her loved ones. The remains reveal that the girl died at the age of 25 to 40, and despite her modest height of about 5 feet, she possessed a strong muscular physique, especially her arms, which were as powerful as those of an athlete. The girl was placed on her back in the tomb, with her legs bent and her arms stretched out at her sides, approximately 7.5 feet underground. The tomb was oval-shaped and covered by a layer of soil mixed with seashells, snails, and other mollusks. These shells helped neutralize the acidity of the soil, preserving the skeleton in excellent condition for thousands of years. Even more intriguing, the tomb contained shell mounds, archaeological structures often associated with burial rituals or used to mark significant locations. Archaeologists believe that this girl was not an ordinary person, but likely an expert rower, which would explain her muscular arms. In fact, images of strong women with muscular arms are not uncommon in the communities of the area, especially in Monkey Point, the village where the tomb was discovered. Monkey Point, located along the coast of Nicaragua, a poor country in Central America with a population of about 6 million, still maintains similar traditions and images passed down through generations, where people continue the practices of rowing and fishing. This tomb is not only a significant archaeological landmark, but also a window into the ancient history of Central America, helping us better understand the customs, lives, and strength of the people who lived there thousands of years ago. The story of the mysterious girl with the athlete's arms not only amazes us with the preservation of this ancient relic, but also prompts us to reflect on the powerful and resilient lives that once thrived in this region long ago. Car crashes into hole, falling into 400-year-old tomb. The story began when the farmer parked his car under an olive tree in his garden to enjoy the shade. However, his car slowly began to sink into a deep hole. After struggling to pull the car out, he accidentally uncovered something miraculous: ceramic coffins hidden beneath the ground. Curiosity piqued, he quickly alerted the authorities. An archaeological team was dispatched and confirmed that the tomb was an extremely valuable discovery, dating from around 1400 to 1200 BCE during the late Minoan period, a prominent ancient Greek civilization. This tomb attracted attention not only because of its age, but also due to the excellent preservation of the artifacts inside. The tomb was built in soft limestone, with an entrance that originally had a trench-like shape, similar to many other ancient tombs in Greece from that time. However, this entrance had been sealed with stones, and the farmer's car unintentionally created a new entry when it punctured the upper part of the tomb. Earlier, a minor issue in the garden had also occurred when an automatic sprinkler malfunctioned, causing water to overflow and soften the surrounding soil, revealing part of the tomb. Inside the tomb, archaeologists discovered 2 stone coffins, each containing a skeleton. Nearby, there were 2 pots along with some colorful jewelry. These ceramic coffins, known as larnaikis uwe, were common burial items during the Minoan period, and they helped preserve the bodies quite well. The skeletons inside the coffins were arranged in a curled posture, a characteristic burial practice of this culture. Despite being over 3,000 years old, the skeletons remain remarkably well preserved, showcasing careful preservation techniques. Archaeologists are continuing to study these ancient remains, hoping to gather more information about the lifestyle, customs, and health of people during the Minoan period. This discovery not only sheds more light on ancient Greek history, but also opens up many new possibilities for research, helping us understand this civilization, one of the greatest of the ancient world. Male and female skeletons, embracing in an ancient tomb. Russian scientists have recently announced the discovery of dozens of ancient tombs of male and female couples from the Bronze Age, about 3,500 years ago, in the village of Stary Tartas in Siberia. These tombs are not only ancient relics of human history, but also raise intriguing questions about burial customs and the relationships between individuals in ancient societies. What stands out is that some of the male and female pairs were buried facing each other, embracing, as if they were entwined in each other's arms. This rare and intriguing image has caught the attention of archaeologists. To resolve the mystery surrounding these tombs, experts hope to find answers through DNA testing, which could reveal the true relationships between the individuals buried in such unusual postures. One hypothesis proposed by Vasily Lebetsky, one of the leading experts studying these tombs, is that the embracing position of the bodies could represent a marital bond during a historical period when the family began to be seen as a crucial element of society. This explanation makes sense, as it suggests that marital relationships were valued even during the Bronze Age. However, other theories propose that after the husband's death, the wife may have been killed and buried with him. Some researchers even suggest that the sexual position of the couple in the tomb could indicate that the young woman was buried to serve a sexual purpose for the deceased, a practice that may seem strange but was not unheard of in history. Vyacheslav Molodin, the director of the Institute of Archaeology and Ethnology in Siberia, believes there are still many possibilities for explaining these findings. He speculates that the husband may have died first, followed by the wife being killed and buried with him. Alternatively, the tomb may have been reopened to add another person, or it's possible that both individuals died at the same time and were buried together. These hypotheses still require further research and evidence to draw a definitive conclusion. These discoveries are part of a large survey that uncovered about 600 tombs in Siberia. Scientists also discovered the remains of children buried in some tombs in the Novosibirsk region, raising further questions about the burial practices and death beliefs of ancient cultures in the area. These findings not only provide key insights into the lifestyle and customs of Bronze Age societies, but may also help us understand the development of social structures and family concepts in ancient times. Discovery of 100 ancient tombs while digging a pond. While carrying out a project to build a rainwater reservoir in the Geisingen-Gut-Mottingen area of Tuttlingen, southwestern Germany, a team of experts from the archaeological company Archaeologists GmbH uncovered ancient tombs. Among them was a tomb from the Neolithic period, dating back to the 3rd millennium BCE. Inside this tomb, the team found ceramic items belonging to the corded ware culture. The experts also discovered 140 tombs from the early Middle Ages, dating from around 500 to 600 CE. The ancient graves contained burial items such as swords, spears, shields, bone combs, drinking vessels, and earrings. The discovery of these tombs came as a complete surprise to the experts, as previous researchers believed that the Geisingen-Gut-Mottingen area had been inhabited only since 1273. However, finding a Neolithic tomb indicates that people had settled in the area much earlier. Furthermore, the presence of the corded ware culture at the archaeological site helps experts understand their way of life. The corded ware people were known for their pottery, which was decorated by pressing cords into clay before letting it dry. The corded ware culture was an agricultural society that raised cattle and sheep and cultivated barley. Local authorities pointed out that finding tombs from this period in southwestern Germany is extremely rare. The tombs from the early Middle Ages date to a time when the Germanic ruler Odoacer deposed the Roman Emperor Romulus Augustus. This period is also known as the Völkerwanderung, migration period, when tribes moved and fought to conquer one another, pushing each other into new territories. Historians consider this period a transitional phase between the ancient world and the early Middle Ages. In the recently discovered tombs, men were typically buried with weapons, while women were interred with jewelry and bead necklaces. Hill covered with ancient tombs full of treasures in China. A hill in Qingyuan County, Shanxi Province, China, has been identified as a vast burial site of people belonging to the Lijiaya culture from the Shang dynasty, 1600 to 1045 BCE. Initially, archaeologists studied the Jiegu archaeological site, a Lijiaya settlement in Qingjian County. However, when they expanded their research to the surrounding hills, they discovered many rammed earth buildings and well-preserved human remains in the ancient tombs. Researcher Sun Jianwei, who collaborated with the Shanxi Provincial Institute of Archaeology, reported, 9 cemeteries containing high-ranking individuals from the late Shang dynasty have been uncovered, along with 7 A-shaped tombs arranged in a north-south direction. These are the largest noble tombs ever discovered in northern Shanxi province. The most remarkable finds were 4 very large tombs, also from the Shang dynasty, excavated from a cemetery called Changliang. 3 of the tombs, M2, M3, and M4, were earth pit tombs, where researchers found over 200 extremely valuable ritual artifacts. These included a complete set of chariot fittings made of bronze, a belt buckle in the shape of a swallow inlaid with turquoise, a turquoise inlaid belt, animal bone coffins, gold earrings, shells, jade artifacts, numerous ceremonial vessels, axes, and bronze arrowheads. According to researchers, the excavations have enhanced understanding of the political territory and geographical structure of the Shang dynasty during that time, as well as trade exchanges in the region, as evidenced by the exquisite artifacts. Mysterious jade discs in ancient Chinese tombs. Recently, archaeologists announced the discovery of jade discs in several thousand-year-old tombs, but their function and method of production remain unclear. In ancient China, at least since 5000 BCE, large stone discs were placed on the bodies of noble individuals. The original purpose of these discs is still a mystery to scientists, much like their craftsmanship, as they were carved from jade, a stone known for its extreme hardness. Jade is a rare, hard stone made up of various silicate minerals, often used to create vases, jewelry, and other decorative items. The stone is typically colorless, but when contaminated by other materials like chromium, it takes on an emerald green hue. There are 2 main types of jade, nephrite and jadeite. Due to its natural hardness, jade is extremely difficult to work with, which has left researchers puzzled as to why ancient Chinese people during the Neolithic period chose such a challenging material. The jade discs, discovered in several tombs from the Hongshan culture, 3800 to 2700 BCE, to the Liangzhu culture, 3000 to 2000 BCE, were often placed in prominent positions on the deceased, such as the forehead, chest, and soles of the feet. One theory suggests that the jade discs were meant to guide the soul of the deceased to the afterlife. Another hypothesis is that the ancient Chinese believed jade could prevent the body from decomposing. However, some researchers believe the jade discs symbolize the sun or the wheel, reflecting the cyclical nature of life and death. Through these jade discs, people of the Liangzhu culture may have expressed their understanding of the eternal journey of life through various stages. The world of ancient little people. There have been legends of a world inhabited by tiny people in Europe, but to this day, it remains uncertain whether these are merely myths or something more. The mysteries surrounding the world of the little people continue to intrigue researchers. It is known that in some European countries, there are numerous small tunnels, referred to as Erdstall. These tunnels are narrow, about 3.3 to 3.9 feet tall and 2 feet wide. At some intersections of the tunnels, the space is so tight that an average adult or someone a bit overweight would not be able to squeeze through. Some tunnels are circular in shape, and most of these round tunnels are less than 164 feet long. If you crouch down, you may be able to go about 33 feet, but often you cannot go further due to the tight space and the air being stale from being sealed for such a long time. According to German archaeologist Henry, these tunnels were formed during the Stone Age, about 5,000 years ago. During the Neolithic period, these tunnels were usually constructed near human settlements. However, some believe these tunnels were built even earlier, around 12,000 years ago. Radiocarbon dating has shown that tunnels in Bavaria were formed around 1,500 years ago, with some being slightly more recent, dating back to the medieval period. To date, at least 700 similar underground tunnels have been discovered in Bavaria, and approximately 500 more in Austria. One of these tunnels became famous when another was accidentally discovered after a cow grazing on alpine meadows suddenly fell underground. These underground tunnels have been given unique and strange names, such as Shrazaloch or Alraunen Hole. Folktales tell of people who once ventured into these long, intersecting tunnels. Most of the tunnels have collapsed, and the entrances are now blocked. Occasionally, researchers find bas-reliefs inside the caves, depicting figures of guards with tails. Additionally, some chronicles suggest that these underground tunnels lead to an underworld, as described in ancient stories. So, did the little people ever exist? While the tiny tunnels provide some evidence to support the belief, for scientists, the existence of little people remains a great mystery. The Egyptian Book of the Dead, a guide to the afterlife. The Book of the Dead is the modern name given to a series of ancient Egyptian texts that the Egyptians believed would help the deceased navigate the underworld. Copies of these texts were sometimes buried with the dead. The Book of the Dead became widely popular during the New Kingdom period, but its origins trace back to the coffin texts and pyramid texts, which were inscribed on the walls of pyramids. The coffin texts were common during the Middle Kingdom, around 2030 BCE to 1640 BCE, while the pyramid texts first appeared during the 5th dynasty of the Old Kingdom, around 2465 BCE to 2323 BCE. The Book of the Dead contains individual chapters or spells. The ancient Egyptians used the term spells, written in hieroglyphs that resemble the mouth of a person, as the term was related to speech. There was no standard version of the book found in every tomb. Instead, each copy contained different spells. No single book contained all known spells. Rather, it was a selection of reasonable spells, and no two copies were the same. The ancient Egyptians referred to these texts as the book that comes every day, reflecting their belief that the spells were provided to help the deceased pass into the afterlife as a glorified soul. Barry Kemp, Emeritus Professor of Egyptology at the University of Cambridge and author of How to Read the Egyptian Book of the Dead, wrote, "Some spells appear more frequently in copies of the Book of the Dead than others, and some were considered almost essential. One of these important spells is now known as Spell 17, which discusses the significance of the sun god Re, also called Ra, one of the most important Egyptian deities. The ancient Egyptians believed that the body of the deceased could be transformed in the afterlife, allowing a person to move to a place with gods, demons, mysterious locations, and potential obstacles. The chapters of the Book of the Dead describe various challenges one might encounter, such as the ritual of the heart, where a person's actions were balanced by the feathers of the goddess Ma'at, a deity associated with justice. Geraldine Pinch, an Egyptologist, wrote in Egyptian Myth, "A very short introduction, a brief introduction to images that hold significant importance in the honored text collections of the New Kingdom, now known as the Book of the Dead." Many owners of the Book of the Dead could not read hieroglyphs, but they could understand the intricate illustrations summarizing the content of the spells. The Book of the Dead is most famous for guiding the deceased, but it also served other purposes. Perhaps its most important function can be inferred from indirect evidence. It helped alleviate people's fear of the mysteries of death. The wealthy ancient Egyptians also arranged for their mummies to be embalmed and their coffins decorated with religious texts in an effort to control what would happen to them after death. Additionally, the spells in the Book of the Dead could be used while a person was still alive. Most of the spells in the book were not designed to navigate the underworld. Instead, they focused on transformation and transcendent experiences. In earthly life, a person following the rituals could use the spells to overcome everyday experiences. Many spells also included instructions on how to use them on Earth, suggesting that they could also be used by the living. The ancient Egyptians believed that many of these spells could later be applied in the afterlife. One could use similar spells to help transform their existence, but in many ways, it was considered a transcendent experience. These spells primarily elevated the existence of the gods. Only after that could the individual journey into the underworld alongside the gods. Many copies of the Book of the Dead have been discovered during excavations of tombs, though they were rarely read. Many of the Book of the Dead manuscripts that still exist today were likely not read much before being buried with the deceased. Additionally, the spells in the Book of the Dead were not always written on manuscripts. For example, spells were sometimes written on the mummy wrappings of a person. They were also inscribed on the walls of tombs and even on the golden death mask of Tutankhamun. The last known copies of the Book of the Dead were created in the 1st or 2nd century CE. A series of texts called the Book of Breathings became popular, partly derived from the Book of the Dead. The mysterious underground labyrinth in Egypt. The mystery of the underground labyrinth is one of the grand structures in Egypt. It is mentioned in many ancient texts, and recently, Egyptian historians have been working to explore and clarify the theories surrounding this labyrinth. Based on descriptions from books about the labyrinth in 2008, a research team from Egypt and Belgium traveled to the site where the labyrinth is believed to be located, hoping to uncover and solve the mysteries of this ancient structure. Currently, the National Institute of Geophysics and Astronomy in Egypt is working at full capacity to analyze the scanned data and 3D map images of the labyrinth after conducting the initial survey. However, this is only the first step in discovering the location, shape, and structure of this ancient labyrinth. Researchers still face many challenges in answering key questions such as who built the labyrinth, what it was meant to symbolize, and how it is connected to other pyramids. This highlights how modern science still has many limitations and needs to develop further to fully uncover and study the mysteries left by ancient civilizations. The White City, the city of the monkey god. In 1927, pilot Charles Lindbergh attracted attention when he reported a significant archaeological discovery, the White City or City of the Monkey God, a legendary historical city hidden beneath the tropical rainforest canopy in eastern Honduras as he flew over the La Mosquitia region. By 1939, explorer Theodore Morday claimed to have found the legendary White City. However, he refused to disclose its exact location, fearing that it would be looted. It wasn't until 2016 that archaeologists from the Honduras Institute of Anthropology and the Colorado State University began excavating the area believed to be the White City. Here, experts discovered valuable artifacts such as sculptures and stone objects like bottles and bowls, dating from 1000 to 1500 AD. However, the civilization of those who once lived in the White City remains a mystery to this day. The ancient city beneath Lake Fuxian. Spanning an area of about 212 square kilometers, Lake Fuxian is a freshwater lake located in the Chuxiang, Jiangchuan, and Huaning counties of Yunnan province in southwestern China. Lake Fuxian is ranked as the third largest and deepest lake in Yunnan, with its deepest point reaching 508 feet, making it the second deepest freshwater lake in China. Lake Fuxian is famous for its unique aquatic ecosystem, but most notably, it is home to a mysterious ancient city submerged beneath its depths. According to local residents, on a clear day, one can see the faint outline of a city beneath the lake's surface when viewed from a nearby mountain. To investigate this further, a Chinese archaeological team, with the assistance of submarines, conducted an exploration of Lake Fuxian. In 2001, they discovered stone structures beneath the lake covering an area of approximately 0.9 to 1.0 square miles. Among the ancient structures found was a pyramid-shaped building more than 66 feet tall. Using carbon dating on the shells attached to the stones, it was determined that the ancient city is about 1,750 years old, meaning it was submerged during the Han Dynasty. This ancient city is likely what remains of the Kingdom of Dian, an ancient civilization that vanished after 86 BC. So why did this ancient civilization meet its fate beneath the lake? Some experts speculate that the city was sunk due to an earthquake. However, to this day, there is no convincing explanation to fully account for the existence of the ancient city beneath Lake Fuxian. The ancient world beneath the Taklamakan Desert. Ancient people believed that once you entered the Taklamakan Desert, nothing could escape. Located in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, Taklamakan covers an area larger than 13,000 square miles. It is the largest desert in China and also considered the second largest shifting sand desert in the world. Long ago, homes and temples were built in the heart of this desert, often referred to as the Sea of Death. However, today, everything, including precious ruins, is buried beneath the vast sand dunes. Over the years, archaeologists have begun to uncover some of the secrets hidden in this no-return place. In addition to being a crucial trade route on the Silk Road connecting the East and West, the Taklamakan Desert is believed to conceal an ancient world beneath its sands. Several traces of homes, temples, and cities from the ancient kingdom of Lolan have been discovered beneath the desert. Human remains dating back 4,000 years have also been found in the area. In the late 1980s, well-preserved mummies, estimated to be at least 3,000 years old, were also discovered. These mummies showed that people at that time had red hair and physical features resembling Europeans, suggesting they were not ancestors of modern-day Chinese people. If I say that Taklamakan is not just a desert, but also a treasure trove of cultural heritage, holding untold stories and ancient civilizations gradually being uncovered through excavations, I am not exaggerating. Perhaps this desert still hides many secrets that we have yet to fully explore. The Miracle on the Hudson River. In 2016, Hollywood released the film Sully, starring Tom Hanks and directed by Clint Eastwood, portraying the hero pilot Captain Sully, who saved 155 lives on a doomed flight. The film quickly gained attention, grossing $240 million at the box office. This blockbuster is based entirely on the true story of Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger, and it became one of the most famous events in aviation history. Specifically, on January 15, 2009, U.S. Airways Flight 1549, an Airbus A320, took off from LaGuardia Airport in New York. The plane was carrying 150 passengers and 5 crew members, heading for Charlotte, North Carolina. For Sully, it was just another routine flight. His co-pilot, Jeff Skiles, was flying with him that day. Everything was going smoothly during takeoff. However, Sully's calm thoughts lasted only the first 100 seconds after departure. The plane suddenly collided with a flock of migrating birds. The captain and co-pilot helplessly watched from the cockpit window as the birds attacked the plane, causing both engines to fail. Sully recalled, "We could feel and hear the thuds, the screeching after the impact. Then came the loud rumble from the engines." At that point, the plane was at an altitude of over 3,000 feet, and there was no way to return to the runway or land safely on the ground. Sully sent a distress signal to air traffic control and was directed to make an emergency landing at the nearest airport, Teterboro. However, the plane was losing altitude and was almost about to collide with the George Washington Bridge. With his extensive experience, Captain Sully made a bold decision to land the plane in the middle of the Hudson River. After a few minutes, the plane touched down on the water. At that moment, only 90 seconds remained before the risky landing, and Captain Sully announced to the passengers, "Prepare for impact." The plane skidded across the water as passengers screamed in fear, but it did not break apart or sink. After safely landing, Sully quickly exited the cockpit and ordered an evacuation. He instructed passengers to put on life vests and move to the 4 emergency exits, where life rafts were deployed, and they climbed to the wings as water began flooding the cabin. The outside temperature was recorded at 19 degrees Celsius. Captain Sully was the last person to leave the cabin, making sure no passengers were left behind in the sinking plane. According to many aviation experts, Sully had carefully calculated the best place to land in the Hudson River, near an area frequented by tour boats. When the plane hit the river, tour boats from Knee Waterway and Circle Line reached the scene just 4 minutes later, after the plane's belly touched the water. Soon after, helicopters, New York rescue boats, and divers were quickly dispatched to the crash site to rescue the victims, who were shivering from the cold. Fortunately, all 155 people aboard the plane survived. Fossil of a strange creature, resembling a dragon and the Loch Ness Monster. In the Guoling Formation of Guizhou Province, China, the fossil of a mysterious creature has astonished scientists due to its shape and the rare preservation of its remains. The long, narrow body of the creature, combined with its coiled position within a 240 million-year-old rock slab, dating back to the Triassic period, easily evokes imagery of a dragon from mythology. The strange creature has been identified by a team of Chinese, German, and British scientists as Dinocephalosaurus orientalis, a bizarre marine reptile and one of the earliest representatives of the emerging dinosaur world during the Triassic period. The Triassic was the era when such creatures slowly began to appear before exploding in population and diversity during the later Jurassic period. The creature from Guizhou has a skeleton, excluding the skull, that is 20 feet long, with 32 individual vertebrae. Its body resembles that of a snake, if not for the section in the middle with ribs, indicating an expanded torso with limbs. Despite this, the body is still very narrow in comparison to the animal's length. The creature's teeth are sharp and densely packed, similar to the fish-catching teeth found in other strange marine reptiles from the Cretaceous period much later on, in regions such as Europe and China. What distinguishes this early marine reptile from later, long-necked marine reptiles is its many vertebrae, resembling that of snakes. Not only did it live in the ocean, but its reproductive process almost certainly occurred entirely in the sea. In addition to resembling a dragon, this strange creature has also led some Western scientists to draw comparisons to the Loch Ness Monster and the ancient long-necked lizard group, Plesiosauroidea. However, contrary to expectations, analyses show that the creature is not related to the lineage of long-necked reptiles. Dinocephalosaurus orientalis was first discovered in China in 2003 and briefly described, with a name assigned, but the specimen was incomplete. With the new specimen from Guizhou, the dragon-like shape of the creature has now been fully described. This is yet another example of the strange and wonderful world of the Triassic period, continuing to puzzle paleontologists, the researchers stated. The 1,000-year jade in China. In many rural areas, especially in African and Asian countries, people often go to riverbanks to collect water, wash clothes, or bathe right there. If you're a fan of Chinese films, you may have noticed this. It was during one such routine that a woman, while washing clothes by the river, accidentally broke a stone that had been used as a base and discovered inside it an incredibly rare jade. The fortunate woman, surnamed Wang, lived in Shungap Village, Duanlei District, Yunnan Province, China. On that day, while washing clothes, Mrs. Wang accidentally hit the stone with too much force, causing it to crack open. Immediately, she noticed a strange blue light shining from the crack. Mrs. Wang realized this was no ordinary stone, so she decided to take it home. When she arrived home, her husband saw her holding the stone and was initially annoyed. However, after noticing the blue light from the crack, he guessed it might be jade or some type of valuable gemstone. So, the couple hurriedly took the stone to a gem appraisal shop. The gem expert at the shop was left stunned after examining the stone. Inside the 50-pound rock was a piece of translucent blue jadeite, a high-quality variety of jade known as glass jade. This jade was considered one of the finest treasures among high-end gems. When Mrs. Wang asked about the value of the jade, upon hearing the answer, she fainted on the spot in shock. It turned out that the stone she had been using for years to wash clothes was an incredibly valuable gem. A strange object as expensive as diamonds. In 2021, a man named Nicolas Leger discovered strange blue objects in a stream, but when he picked them up and examined them closely, he made an astonishing realization. Nicolas, an amateur gem hunter, was truly surprised to find that he had stumbled upon a sapphire deposit in a stream located in the volcanic region of Auvergne, in the Puy-de-Dôme department of France. According to Nicolas, while walking along the stream, he noticed a stone that shimmered with a blue light. At first, he thought it was just an old piece of glass, but he decided to pick it up and take a closer look. After closely inspecting it for a while, he excitedly discovered that it was indeed a sapphire. Immediately, he began sifting through the water, searching for more gemstones hidden in the sand. After just one sweep of the sifting pan in the water, Nicolas collected several sparkling blue sapphires. As he continued walking along the stream, he also discovered a section where sapphire crystals were concentrated in large numbers, with various colors and sizes ranging from blue to green and from a few millimeters to several inches in length. Natural sapphires are a type of precious gemstone with a high hardness, second only to diamonds. In some cases, sapphires are even considered equal to diamonds in terms of rarity and value, thanks to their refined color, high transparency, minimal impurities, and sparkling brilliance. As you can see, the ancient world is mysterious and enchanting, just as its name suggests. A world that has passed, leaving behind many things that are difficult to explain for future generations. Among the mysteries mentioned above, which discovery impressed you the most? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any more fascinating discoveries. For now, goodbye, and we hope to see you again soon.